Good morning. Welcome to Harper College and the beautiful new facilities for the Academy of Learning Excellence. My name is Dr. Wayne Johnson. I am the program coordinator of law enforcement programs. So we had planned this and we had worked with the Academy to set this up regarding some changes in Blackboard and regarding some new technology that has come out of one of our main publishers, being Pearson. Courtney, thank you for being here for that. Karen Herold is our facilitator for this session. We will have these sessions available for other faculty members on YouTube eventually, and then on Blackboard. So we appreciate that. And I'll introduce Karen Herold, who is our instructional technologist. Right? Got it right? Okay. Karen's been a good friend of this program since I've been here, almost 11 years. She's very supportive. For some reason, she likes the law enforcement faculty, go figure. So, but she's been great to work with, and I'll turn it over to her, and the floor is yours, Karen.
Thanks. First of all, welcome to the new facilities, Academy here. This is the teaching lab, but there's also a working lab around the corner where you can come, work, I can help you. My office is actually attached to the working lab. And so after, from here on in, if you need any help, feel free to come up and use the lab, okay? I'm going to talk about Grade Center today, about your syllabus, how it should be relating to your Grade Center. Talk about how to build your grade center, if you're weighting grades, how to pull those weighted grades in, and then talk a little bit about testing software that is going to relate to what Courtney is going to be talking about later with Pearson. So first thing, I'd like you all to get into a class that you are teaching. And once you're in there, down in Control Panel, click on Grade Center, and then click on Full Grade Center. Now, going with what Courtney is going to be doing a little bit later, a lot of your columns here will be integrated if you're using the tools in Revel or Pearson. Is Pearson Revel correct? Okay. And your columns will be integrated, but what I'm going to show you now is how to edit, how to manipulate, how to add new columns for other things that you might have in your classroom. And then we're going to take a look at the weighted column in case you do weight grades, so you know how to do that, okay? Clicking on Create Column, you would put your new column name in here. A description, if you want a description for that column. Now here, what comes into play is if you are weighting grades, you have to drop this column into a category, because you're going to be putting the weights on the category. If you have 10 quiz columns, 5 research paper columns, 3 or 4 attendance columns, you have to put the weights on the actual category. So you'll be dropping your columns into categories first. So I'm just going to grab a category, click the down arrow, I'm going to call this an assignment, and then you have to obviously put your points to it, and then click on Submit. So once you create all of your columns, or your columns are integrated through the pairing process with Pearson, you'll have your whole grade book here, and all of your columns will be set. One thing I don't know, Courtney, are they allowed to choose categories while they're doing pairing, or do they have to do it afterwards?
So we'll cover a little bit in that session. What we actually found was the best for Revel was to not do the grade pairing, but to export the grade in Excel file.
Okay,
And,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you might have to, with that being said, you might have to go back and reassign categories to your columns, okay? But the deal is that every column, if you're weighting grades, every column has to be in a category because we're going to put the weight on the category. So whether you do it ahead of time, whether you do it afterwards, you can always go back into the column and you can drop it into a category later. It's not, you don't have to do it at the beginning. So for instance, I can pull up this column right here called paper 1, down arrow, and I can go to edit column information, and then after the column is created, I can say, okay, I want to drop it into a different category, and I can change that category. So just think of it as buckets. You've got 5 buckets, 5 categories, every column has to go into a bucket, and you're putting the weights on the buckets, okay? That's a visual. And the reason that I'm covering the grade book right now is because I think that it's really important with what Courtney's going to be covering later. If you're using integrated assignments, if you're using integrated testing, your grade center, your grade book has to be clean and it has to match your syllabus. So I'm hitting the grade book to make that connection, okay? So after we're done creating all your columns, whether they're integrated, whether they're manual, and after you're done putting them to categories, we're going to look at the weighted total column. Now I've sat with a lot of you with your grade books already. I have to put another weighted total in because I don't have one in mind. I've sat with a lot of you with your grade books already. And you know that obviously it's very important that your grade book matches your syllabus. If you're telling the students you're weighting grades and you're putting percentages, you need to match that. If you're just using straight points, then that's fine. You can just use your total column. I know I've worked with a lot of you with your weighted grades, but the main thing is that whatever you're putting out in your syllabus has to match your grade book. Yes?
When we do this, a new column, and we weight it, say it's 5% of your grade, does that adjust the other assignments?
It does all the calculations. If you're telling me that my 10 quizzes are going to be worth 20% of my grade, it will automatically adjust that in the weighted total column. That's why it's very important that if you are weighting grades, all of your columns are in categories. Because if you miss a column, it's going to really skew the weighted total. So we have to make sure that, and I'll show you how to look at that visual to make sure all of your columns are in categories after we talk about this weighted column. So if you're not weighting grades, you can just stick with your straight total column, your total points, if you're just using points. Your total column is fine. It adds up the points and it matches to what your points match on your syllabus. If you are weighting grades, I'm going to click the down arrow next to the weighted total, and I'm going to go into the edit column information of the weighted total. If I scroll down, you can see here's my categories that I can select and put my weights to. I'm just going to, for training's sake, I'm just going to grab the first 5 and move them over. And now you can see here, I can put 20% to my assignments. I can put, if I scroll down, you even have the option to drop a higher or lowest grade for quizzes. For homework, I can put 30% on the homework, and I can say drop the highest or lowest grade if you're giving them an option to do, I'm giving you 6, but I'll drop the lowest grade type thing. But once you put your percentages here, you're done. You're putting 10% on homework, you might be putting 20% on assignments, and you're done. And as long as your columns are in the right category, this column adds everything up. You don't have to do a thing. So, and if I want to take one out, how about if I think I have 2 assignments here. I'll take this one out and I will move tests over. Okay? So I'm going to put 10% on assignments. I'll put 10% on a survey. I'll put 40% on my homework. What am I at right now? Got to be at 100. I'll put
60.
30% here, and I'll put 10% here. So I hit my 100, and I say submit. Now, all of my calculations will automatically be done on the percentages that you put on the categories, and as you are grading your columns, that will automatically be dumped into your weighted total, which will automatically do all the calculations. So if you are weighting, if you're putting certain weights on different parts of your course, this is how you can do this in the weighted total column. Once again, if you're just using points, you don't have to use the weighted total. You can just have a, you can just have a points column. Everyone is given a total column with their course. And you can leave it at points. This is my playground, so I take things out and put things back in. So you can see, you can just work with points, okay? Now with this being said, if you are weighting, you need to hide that point column, because if you think about it, it's not a true grade. Because if you're telling me that 40% of my homework is going to weigh more in than 10% of my weekly quizzes, the points aren't matching because it's not a true grade. It's not a true weight. So if you are using that weighted total, this is what I tell faculty to do. You can leave this total column here, but I click on the down arrow and then I just hide it from the students. So this way, they don't see this. You will get called on this. You always have the student that's doing all the math, and they'll say, but I have 120 out of 130 points, so that should be an A. Well, if those 120 points, if 40% of that you're only doing D work, but the other 10%, I mean, it doesn't weigh. It doesn't add up. So if you are weighting your total, hide this. And it's all about what you have in your syllabus. The most important thing is just make sure whatever you're doing in your gradebook matches your syllabus. Whenever you're telling the students how you're grading. A quick way to check and make sure that all of your columns are truly in categories. If I point to manage and I click on column organization, you can do a quick check here to make sure that every single column is in a category. If you missed one, it says no category, you can say, uh-oh, I gotta make sure I put that one in a category. So you can go to Manage, Column Organization for a quick look to make sure that every column is in a category and all of your columns that you're supposed to see, you can see, and do a quick check on the layout of your gradebook. And if you want to move things around, all you have to do is grab the plus sign next to whatever you're trying to move, and you can reorganize your columns. Top to bottom is left to right. And the students see top to bottom. So I always highly suggest that your letter grade is at the top, weighted total is at the top, because when they log in, that's the first thing that they're going to see. They will see their totals at the top, however you show it to them, their percentage. Theirs looks just like this, top to bottom. Yours goes left to right. Very important to keep your grade book clean and up to date and make sure that it's working properly. That's, there's two things that the students want. They want their grades and two main things. They want their grades, they want their syllabus. They want to know what you expect of them, what's due, and they want to see assessment. And it's good for them to know where they're sitting at all points of the semester, not just at midterm. not just 2 weeks before final. So if you keep your grade book up to date and you keep this working properly, they know at all times where they're sitting in your class. So if you look at your grade book here, like I said, you're looking at it left to right, weighted total, letter grade, chapter test. If I go in as a student and I go to my grades, see, I see it top to bottom. So the total is right here. First thing is C, and it's dark, and it's bold, and it's big. So they can, first thing they notice is their grade or their percentage, and then the rest of their columns, just like you have in your grade center. Once again, if you need help with the grade center, if you need help building your grade center, I will be more than happy to sit with you and help you build it and help you create it. So that's the grade center. At the end of and we're going to have questions later, so you can ask me questions on the grade center later. But at the end of the semester, one of the things that you're supposed to do is download your grades, and you're supposed to submit them to your department. Okay? So to download your grades, you need to be in full grade center, where we just were, but I just want to make that clear again, full grade center. Here's a button up here called Work Offline, and you click on Download. Leave the defaults. All of the defaults will turn this into an Excel spreadsheet, so just take the defaults. You don't have to worry about anything. If I click on Submit, it's going to ask me again, download. I'm going to click on the download button. It's going to give you the option to open it or save it. I'm going to open it just so I can show you what it looks like. It opens it up into an Excel spreadsheet. It's not the prettiest thing, but it is your grade book. And that's all the department really wants. They just want a copy of your grade book. So I wanted to show you what it looks like. Now what I can do, like with any other file that you work with, you can save it to your desktop, and then you can email it to whoever, or save it to your jump drive. So I can click on File, Save As, and save it to my desktop, and then email it to whoever I need to email it to. When your grade book comes out of your Blackboard, it's in Blackboard code. Even though it opened it up in Excel, it's in Blackboard code. So before you save it to wherever you're saving it, make sure you change the file type. So I always label these. This is how I load the grade books. I'll say LEJ 101 001, okay? Capital B, capital M, URRAY, SP 18. This is how I label them when I send them to your department. Your whole course number with section, first initial, last name, and then whatever semester you're teaching. So I take that, I make sure I save it as an Excel workbook, and I will save it to my desktop. Now I have it on my desktop, and I can email it to Mary Anderson. So you have to remember when you save it, turn it into an Excel, because if you don't, you send it to her, she will say, I can't open this. So when you pull your grade book, and here's another important thing you need to know. You can pull your grade book off at any time and work on it in Excel, and you can upload it back up. So if you're working someplace where you don't have internet connection, or you have a poor internet connection, you can do this, put it on your jump drive, take it with you, and do all your grades. And then you can upload it the same way we downloaded it, okay? So if I go back into my full grade center and I click on work offline, see, I also have the choice to upload now. So you can take it off, work on it, upload it back up. But with that being said, any new columns that you want in your gradebook have to be done in Blackboard first. You cannot create columns offline, it will not load back up. So any new columns have to be done in Blackboard, but you can take your grade center off and work on it and pull it back up, okay? So I just want you to be aware, don't put time into downloading it, building all these new columns, and it won't come back, it won't upload. So, but that's how you can work offline with your gradebook, by uploading, downloading, but making sure you turn it into an Excel spreadsheet, okay? So that's uploading, downloading your grades. We talked about your weighted total column. We talked about creating a new column. Now, another thing that I think you should be aware of are, you can do student reports. You can do reports for your own knowledge. You can do reports, you can print them out page by student, but there's different types of reports that you can do in Blackboard. They're not rocket science, they're not very detailed, but they're okay and they're better than nothing. So I mean, I'm going to show you how to do that. If we're in Grade Center here, and I point to report, and I click on create report, you can just do a simple report by user, which will pull up all kinds of information on them. You can do, and this is for your gradebook, you can do all columns, you can do certain columns, you can select columns, but this is a report that just specifically points to the gradebook itself, okay? So that's done up here with report. If you want to have a little bit more detailed reports, you can click on evaluation here on the left-hand side of your screen. Click on course reports, and now you can see all kinds of different types of reports that you can do. And it's down under evaluation course reports. And it tells you what this is. This report displays a summary of all user activity inside content areas. This report displays overall activity within a single course. So you can take your whole course, or you can just find a student. And I had to do that yesterday. Single course user participation report, and I'm going to run that one and show you. I had a faculty member ask me if I could see if a student logged in the first 3 weeks of class. So I came to this report and I ran it, and I can show you. Just wondering how many stats I'll have. This is my playground. Well, let's see what happens here. Single user participation. I click the down arrow, you have one choice, which is run. I might need to be, hold on here. Can I use one of your courses?
Sure.
Just to pull up a report? Give me a number.
101001.
It might be because of my role in that course. So let me go into, Wayne, I'm going to go into your course. I'm going to quick enroll myself as an instructor. I will go to evaluation, course reports. I'm going to go down to single course user participation, click the down arrow and click run. See here, it gives me the dates. So what I did was I took the date, I went all the way back to the beginning of the semester, which was around the 15th, to today, okay? And if I click on submit, I can download it, I can open it. Oh, I don't know what is going on here. This is not good. opening the way it should. Let me try it again. I'll run a new report. Okay. And then the right course reports, single course user report, run. I'm going to tell I want it to go from January 15th until today. That's the problem. Pop-ups weren't enabled. Doesn't want to, I'm going to try a different one. That would have pulled up individual statistics. I don't know why it's not working in this room, but I'm going to do this. All user activity inside of content areas. Let me see if I can pull this up. PDF form. Okay. So what I did was I chose dates, and I chose a student, and I'm going to click on submit. And now you can see, this is just one report, but you can see, you can see how many hits were done in the quizzes, in the course materials, in the videos, PowerPoints, so you could see, and this is an overall report. I can scroll down, and I can see how many times that this student hit each one of those. So this is an overall report. The detail here isn't as good as the individual, but I couldn't get the individual to pop up. So here you go. Here's all user activity by date of what was accessed. And I can actually show in the content area by date how many times he accessed the course. So once again, this is overall. The individual will give you a little more detail. But be aware that these reports are here, okay? These reports are here. They're in evaluation, they're under course reports, and there's all kinds of different types of reports. Play with them. You know, play with them and see what you can come up with in case you need to use these for any reason. And like I said, the report I ran yesterday was a huge help because the student was claiming they couldn't log in and they couldn't get to areas. So, I mean, it is a help that you can see what they've hit, the dates they've hit it, what they've looked at. So that's here. Once again, under Full Grade Center, there's a report. This report, you can create a report. You can just call it Porter Report. This is a pretty simple report. I can add the date to it. I can add some headings to it. You can choose all users. You can choose a selected user if you're just sitting with a certain student. But I'm going to show you all users. I'll just add all information, all columns. You can just pull individual columns, and I'm going to click on Submit. Basically what this does, it just creates individual sheets to hand to a student if you are going to sit with the students, with your students, and go over their grades. It pulls in all the columns, it pulls in all the grades, it pulls in all the information, and what Blackboard does, it just builds in the page breaks in between students. So if you want to print these out and hand them to your students or sit with your students, you can. So the report that's built into the Grade Center basically just covers your Grade Center for information if you want to hand it out or sit with them. The other reports down in the control panel are reports that give you statistics on hits and views and overall activity. So you've got both of those there, okay? So we've talked about columns, weighted columns, making sure your syllabus matches your grade book. We've talked about creating columns, adding weights. We've talked about reports. One other thing that I wanted to cover was testing software. One of the things that comes with publisher material are digital test banks. So you do not have to create tests from scratch. Courtney is going to cover how they integrate with her part, but I just want you all to know that I am going to be downloading all of the TestGen software to the working lab over by me. I'm going to download TestGen. I'm going to download Exam Viewer. All different publishers use different testing software. She's also going to give me a jump drive so I can take all of your books and your digital tests and I can put them on the computer in the testing lab. So if you want to create a paper test, if you want to use the digital test banks, aside of the integration that she's going to show you, it will be on the computers. My office is connected to that lab and I will be there to help you. So at any point, if you want to create any testing, whether that's digital, whether that's paper, I will have all of your test banks on a computer in the working lab by me. So just call me. I've sat with Bernie, I've sat with Paul, I've sat with some of you. But I just want you to be aware that that software will be on those computers, so you don't have to worry about, I mean, you can still put it on your desktop and on your laptop, but I'll have it there if you need help, okay? So, testing, grade center, running reports. That was what I was planning on covering today.
A little bit about Collaborate.
Oh, Collaborate, okay. One of the newer tools that we now have built into Blackboard is Collaborate. Blackboard Collaborate, which is an online synchronous video software that allows you to reach out with your students online live, or you can record a lecture or an orientation and post it there that they can watch at a different time. So you can use it for live class, you can use it for office hours live, or you can create and post that they can watch at a later time, so it's both. So down under course tools, we have what's called Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. There we go, okay. Wayne, do you have do you have one in your, I thought you had, do you have one in this course?
No,
Okay,
no.
okay.
What's
when
it
you
under?
click
Course tools. Course
Under
tools.
course tools, and then it's called Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. Two different types of meetings you can do here. You can do a meeting where you set it up ahead of time, or you can do a course room meeting, which you just jump into at any time and you can tell your students to meet you there and you can just meet live. Another thing, the students have access to this course room too, 24/7. They can meet up in the course room and they can collaborate and they can do work together. So these both work the same way. One is just pre-scheduled and the other one is more impromptu where you can just jump in and use it. All you need is a webcam and a microphone. So you can get a headset with a microphone, or you can get a standalone microphone, or a lot of your new laptops now have built-in microphones and webcams in them. But you just need to be able to speak, and they don't even have to see you if you don't want them to see you. I have a lot of faculty that'll do record lectures, but they don't want some of their screen being taken up with their video, so they don't use the video. Yes?
Good question. If we don't have a webcam, who is the person? Is that something we go through our division office? Is that something we go
Well,
through the academy?
I have a few that I can lend out, So I mean, if you want to use one, I can lend you one, but I would suggest if you're going to, I suggest purchasing one. You can find, I have a real nice one that has built-in speakers on it, right on the webcam that I sit right on top of my computer here, and I got it off of Amazon for $39.99.
Is there a brand that's better than the others?
Logitech. I believe that's the one I have.
Yeah.
Logitech, yeah, I use
Remotes.
Logitech.
Because some of the others aren't so good. I've had one and I wound up using one from Karen.
Yes, I lent him my Logitech, and you said it worked well,
Yeah.
right?
Could you email that one to maybe Wayne or I?
Sure,
Just-
sure,
thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. That's the one. Those are the ones that I order that I lend out. I order that certain model and I lend those out because everything's built right in there, so you don't have to worry about a headset. I mean, you are going to have speakers because you have to hear the students if you want them to talk, but that at least takes care of your microphone and your video if you want to use it. Collaborate is great. Plug and play. When you plug your microphone in and your webcam in, it picks it up very nice. So if I go ahead and create a session, I can say you want to meet with your students next week. So let's call this and say just put a date on there. You have options here. You've got a start time and a finish time. You can leave it open-ended if you're using it for like office hours. Collaborate now incorporates dial-in. Students can dial in on their phones, and they can use their phones for audio. They do not have to have speakers. They do not have to have a microphone. Every session comes with a number, and when the session starts, that number pops up on the screen, and the students can just dial in with their phones. So every session comes with a number. You can decide how soon you want them to enter. You can change the time. I always suggest giving 30 minutes in case they have any technical difficulties. You can download your recordings. You can, which means once they're done, simple click turns them into an MP4 and you can use them again. You can insert them in another course. You can upload them to YouTube and you can use them again. If it's something you want to use again, don't forget to click that because recordings do not copy over from course to course. So if you want to use it again, you have to make it downloadable so you can get it off of Blackboard and turn it into an MP4. Okay? And I don't expect you to remember all this right now. I'm sure we'll be sitting together if you want to use Collaborate, but I want you to know that the software is here. Okay? You can share audio, share video, chat messages. So there's many different choices that you have here, okay? But you need to be in control of your online classroom, so it's really important that you decide if you're going to let them speak. You have to decide up front. You're going to save questions to the end. Are you going to allow them to ask questions during the session? There's a hand-raising feature where they can raise their hand and you can see it on screen. So you just need to be in control of your classroom so we can talk about these different details when we sit if you want to learn how to use this.
Hey Karen,
Yes.
have you had instructors use this, like let's say they're out and for whatever reason, let's say they had a surgery. It's like, I'm not coming into Harper College, but I don't want to miss
Yes.
the course or what have you.
Yes.
Would this not be a good
Yes.
opportunity? Okay.
I'll tell you, there's many different ways faculty have used this. They have used it for their online orientations, and they keep them very general and generic. When they're recording them, they don't say, welcome to LEJ 101, spring of 2018. Keep it generic, record it. You can use it over and over again until your textbook might change, and you can load it into your course, okay? So an orientation. Number 2, I've had faculty use this last minute. Snow days. College closed. They don't want to have to worry about physically coming in and making up this class, so they'll send out a bulletin in the morning and say, you know, Harper usually lets you know ahead of time, you know, they might be closing, send out an announcement or an email and say, we're meeting online tonight. Everybody hop in on the session and we will do tonight's class online. I've had faculty knowing that they were going to be gone for training, for teaching, for something, pre-record your lecture. Pre-record the whole lecture that you would be doing in class, put it up here, the students can watch it. No different than if you were sitting in the classroom.
And when you do that, you can do your PowerPoint with your
Yes.
over.
Yes,
yeah,
and I'll show
your
you that.
voiceover.
I'll show you that. I've had faculty use this for online office hours. They've created a link, they've left it open-ended, and they've told their students, I will be online every Tuesday from 8 to 10 p.m. If you have any questions, I will be online. You can set up alarms with this, so as soon as a student enters your virtual link, you hear a bing, you hear a, you know, so you don't have to be sitting there staring at your computer. You can be doing other work and you can just open this up, and if students have questions, they can hop in the classroom. You'll hear a noise go off, you'll know there's somebody in the room. And
But you can also do this live, correct? If
Yes.
you want to do your class live.
That's what I'm saying, like for instance, that happens a lot when we have snow days.
That's right.
Faculty will use this. If they even have an inkling that college is going to be closed, they'll put out an announcement and say, you know, we might be meeting live online tonight. If the school is closed, I'm creating a session, be ready to hop online, and I will be doing my lecture live. So it can be used many ways, many ways. So if I click on this and I go in here, what you're doing is you're creating a live link. You're creating a live link here, and creating a live link here, and you're going to click into it, and the students will click into it, okay? So if I had my camera plugged in and I had my audio plugged in, what I would do first and foremost, but which I don't have either, you'll have little icons down here for audio and for video, and you click on it, it activates your camera, it activates your audio, okay? Just waiting for this to churn.
It could also be used to have somebody teach from another country. Several times I've had somebody teach from London and Australia. Teacher come and teach
Yeah.
my class.
There is a guest link, yes, thank you. There is a guest link. With every class, there is a guest link. And you can send this guest link out to, if I open this up, okay, you can send your guest link under settings. Oh, no, excuse me, I'm sorry. You have to send the guest link out ahead of time. But you can send a guest link, so anybody that you want as a guest in your course can click on that link and they can join your course. They don't have to be student. You don't have to call me and say, put them in my course. It's a guest link just for that session. You can pull people in and have them either teach, join you. You can make them an instructor so they can co-teach with you. You can give them instructor privileges so they can take over the course at any point that you want to hand it over. But yes, there is a guest link so outsiders can come in without having to put them in your course, okay? If I click on the menu over here, you can see students see the same menu except for the start recording. All the student has to do is click on use your phone, and it gives them the phone number and it gives them the PIN to call in so they can use their phone. Here's where you record, you start and stop, you can record this whole session, okay? On this side, there's 3 menus that you will be working with. One is chat, so at any time, you can be chatting back and forth with your students, okay? There's nobody in here right now, so obviously, but you can see that the chat button, you can chat with your students. Here is your participation list, so you can see everyone who's attending. And here is your share content. At any time, you can share a whiteboard, You can share an application, which means your desktop, which means the web, which means a PowerPoint, and you can share files, Word documents, Excel documents, PowerPoint documents. So you can open up anything you want in here and have an online lecture, no different than if you were standing in a classroom. You can pull your PowerPoint up here and talk about it. You can pull your syllabus up here and talk about it. You can pull a website up and talk about it. You can, anything that you can do in the classroom, you can do here. And you can pull it up by using one of those three.
When you have a guest speaker, I'm picturing when I teach with the medical examiner, he would be able to, let's say traffic was horrendous, he's trying to come from an autopsy or whatever, and so he'd be able to, as long as he had a webcam.
Hop right in.
Okay.
Yep.
Otherwise, he'd be able to just call in and still we could pull it off with him through
Yes.
the audio.
Yes, but if you want him to be visual for some reason, he has to have a webcam. There's an instructor in the dental hygiene department that actually does her weekly, one of the things she does with her students is she gets together every week with them individually, and they literally have like skull-like mouthpieces where they have to show how they use their tools, whatever. She does that at night, at home. She schedules different with different students. They actually have a camera. They just make sure it's pointed to them, and they do their work, and she grades them at home. They work on the actual jaw pieces, and they work from home.
If you're doing office hours, and say like 3 people want to talk about whatever, are they overhearing each other, or do you just click on one person at a time?
Well, that's, once again, it's all about control. So you have to actually say, okay, there's 3 of you on here. You have to regulate it. There's 3 of you on here. Karen, you were on first. Let me know what your deal is. You can tell the other 2. You can either listen, or if you want to step back and come back in 10 minutes, I will cover your office hours. So you have to control that.
Okay.
And yes, they can hear each other. If it's no. You have to have control of your online environment, just as if you were having control of your classroom. You're okay, Wayne. What do you need? Okay, what do you need?
And again, of the office hours, you don't have to have the camera on yourself.
No.
If you could do audio office hours and pull up a document and pull up a
Yeah,
PowerPoint.
exactly. So for instance, if a student calls you and she wants, I don't have anything here to show. If a student calls you and wants to go over, let me see if I can pull something up for mine. I'm just trying to see if I have something here that I can, okay, I have a PowerPoint. I can drag and drop it onto here. Here's my PowerPoint. Say you have a student that wants to meet with you because they didn't understand a certain concept that was on a certain page of the PowerPoint, okay? You can have your PowerPoint here, open and ready. Okay, I'm going to say share now. Here's my PowerPoint. Right now, all my students can see this. All I did was drag it and drop it over. And now I can cover what I need to cover with them online, live, talking to them without having to come in for a student. So you see, all I did was open up Collaborate. All I did was create a session, and you can create it at the beginning of the semester and leave it open-ended if that's truly what you want to use it for like office hours. And students said to me, Professor Murray, I need to go over this, and you're like, I can't get in tomorrow or whatever.
Yeah.
Tell them, meet me online at 8 o'clock tonight, and I'll cover whatever you want covered. Open up your PowerPoint, drop it over, and just go over it.
Is there a way to do a quick link to Blackboard Collaborate, like at the top? You can do that.
Yes, you can. What you can do,
Just so they don't have to drill down
Yeah.
so many different menus.
you can add Collaborate into your menu by clicking on this plus sign. And Wayne, I know this is your course, and I promise I will not do anything. Don't worry. Tool link. I can grab
There you go.
Blackboard Collaborate and I can name it Collaborate, and then I can add it, you can add it to your menu. You
Thank
can
you.
add any tool to your menu by clicking on plus sign tooling. So this is a nice tool if you want to meet with your class live, so you don't have to, you know, I mean, things happen, you know, and especially in all your lives. And there's times that, you know, like tomorrow, like next week, you have training. He's got training he has to go to. Instead of having to worry about coming back in and physically making up a lecture, he could even do this from his hotel room. And he could do his lecture tomorrow night from his hotel room, have his students hop on, and he's got that session covered, and it's live. So it's a nice tool. It's a very nice tool to also, one thing that Wayne and Brad are big proponents of is they record their orientations. So they cover their syllabus, they cover their grading, they cover their student expectations, they cover what you know, everything that you would cover in a first day of class, telling your students, you can do in a recording, get it done, post it. And then this way, your first day of class, you're not spending an hour going over your syllabus or your student expectations or your grading policies. So pre-record, live, lecture, office hours, I mean, it can be used for many things, many things. Get out of here. There you go, Wayne. Nothing in there. Anything else that you need me to cover? You want me to cover?
We're good.
Okay,
We're good.
thanks, guys.
Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
Karen.